Here are today's top stories. President Duterte vows to distribute more lands to farmer beneficiaries until his term ends. Filipinos overseas participate in the overseas absentee voting for the May elections. The MMDA suspends the number coding scheme as more motorists and commuters travel this Holy Week. And Task Force Bangon Marawi eyes the transfer of displaced residents to temporary shelters by September.
Good day, I'm Rom Dulfo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Our top story, the Department of National Defense says the country's claims on the West Philippine Sea and Spratly Islands are on solid ground. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana answered the statement of the Chinese Foreign Ministry that the Spratlys are part of its territory, citing its historical and legal basis. Lorenzana cited the 1981 UNCLOS, of which China is a signatory, which gave the Philippines an exclusive economic zone, or EEZ, of 200 nautical miles. Another factor is the Permanent Court of Arbitration ruling in July 12, 2016, which invalidated Chinese historical claims. Earlier, Presidential spokesperson Sal Panelo said the Philippine government remains committed on its claim on disputed territories and exclusive economic zones. Panelo said China should avoid performing acts that would place Filipino fishermen's fishing in the disputed areas at risk. More farmers are expected to receive and own lands from the government for the rest of President Duterte's term. More on this from Miguel Hill.
President Rodrigo Duterte renewed his commitment to distribute land to agrarian reform beneficiaries before he steps down in 2022. He said farmers who have already been identified by the Department of Agrarian Reform as would-be title holders must be given their long-deserved due. He says he will take back the lands being rented out by corporations and will give it away to the landless. Duterte cited what happened in Boracay, where after ordering for the island's cleanup, the government gave out parcels of land to the indigenous Aitas living in the area. Earlier, the president distributed certificates of land ownership to more than 2,000 beneficiaries in Sagay City, Negros Occidental. He also instructed Department of Agrarian Reform Secretary Jan Castriciones to hasten the implementation of the Agrarian Reform Program before he finishes his term. In that same speech, the President also ordered Agriculture Secretary Emmanuel Piñol to find out the needs of the farmers and address their concerns. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Miguel Hill.
The MMDA has suspended the number coding scheme from April 17 to 22. This is to give way to the expected influx of passengers leaving for the provinces for the Holy Week break and for those returning to Metro Manila afterwards. More than 1,600 traffic personnel will be deployed from April 17 to 22 on major thoroughfares, transportation terminals, and other key areas in Metro Manila to manage traffic flow. Clearing operations on the sidewalks within the vicinity of major churches in the metropolis will also be conducted. MMDA Traffic Chief Bong Nebria projected that traffic volume would increase along EDSA this week due to the increase in the number of buses. 140 buses are attending to passengers affected by the maintenance shutdown of the MRT-3 from April 15 to 17 and April 20 to 21. The operations of the MRT will be closed from April 17 to 21 for maintenance works. The NCRPO has advised bus companies and their staff to show only wholesome films on board provincial buses, as it has been observed that some movies shown while on the road are not for general patronage. NCRPO Chief Guillermo Eleazar raised the issue amid complaints from parents. To ensure compliance, Eleazar has ordered policemen to monitor buses in terminals to remind the drivers and their conductors about NCRPO's guidelines on decency. He also urged parents and other passengers to report the showing of inappropriate films to police. Eleazar said they will be coordinating with the Movie and Television Review Classification Board, or MTRCB, in running after and in filing cases against erring bus drivers and conductors. Passengers can report erring bus drivers and conductors through the NCRPO Facebook and Twitter accounts, or could be sent via 0999-901-8181 and 0915-888-8181. The Land Transportation Office, or LTO, begins its consultations on the motorcycle crime prevention law, and provincial bus drivers and conductors undergo drug tests. More on these and other news around the metro from Janice Cave.
The Land Transportation Office has begun its consultations with riders groups on the implementing rules and regulations of the motorcycle crime prevention law. Possible designs for the decals to be placed in front of motorcycles are presented during the consultation meeting. LTO Assistant Secretary Edgar Galvantes says the front decal or sticker idea is not yet final, and they are also considering the safety and welfare of the riders. He says LTO will not just follow the law with a blind eye. Meanwhile, the Department of Interior and Local Government, or DILG, assures tourists of their safety while in the country. This after the Philippines was included in the safety risk list by the U.S. State Department. In its travel advisory issued April 9, the State Department placed the Philippines at a level 2 risk and warned against traveling to Mindanao due to crime, terrorism, civil unrest, and kidnapping. DILG Secretary Eduardo Años says there is no basis on the inclusion of the Philippines in the travel advisory as kidnapping rate has already decreased and that foreigners in the country have no reason to be alarmed. In other news, bus drivers and conductors undergo a mandatory drug test to ensure that they are fit to travel this Holy Week. Under PDEA's Oplan Holy Week, bus personnel who are tested positive for illegal drugs will be barred from driving or traveling. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Still to come, Filipinos overseas participate in overseas absentee voting for the May elections. A Bicol bishop advises parishioners voting this May not to sell their votes. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
The real problem of Manila Bay is garbage. Napabayaan yung garbage. The battle now is the battle not in the bay itself, but the source of garbage, which is the estero. The mission that we will be undertaking in these esteros and the river is to restore the width and the depth of the river. You manage your barangay as it is stated in your mandate. This will be your most important mission as barangay captain.
Filipinos broadcast their votes for the 2019 midterm elections beginning last Saturday in different Philippine embassies and consulates general around the world. Filipino envoys have declared overseas absentee voting as generally successful with the high turnout of voters. In Moscow, more than 30 Filipinos cast their ballots on the first day of voting, although a few could not find their names in the certified lists of overseas voters. Meanwhile, voting was reportedly problem-free in China, Washington, and Japan. In Damascus, Tripoli, and Baghdad, voting was cancelled due to armed tension in the areas. Over 1.8 million OFWs are registered for the overseas absentee voting. A bishop reminds Bicolanos not to sell their votes this coming elections. Bishop Joel Bailon of the Diocese of Legazpi Albay has called on parishioners to place their blessed palm fronds or palaspas at their doors and gates to symbolize that their votes are not for sale. Speaking in front of hundreds of parishioners at the Albay Peñaranda Park, Bishop Bailon said it is high time that the system of electing leaders be changed to mark the end of vote buying, corruption, and other dirty tactics. He then led a procession which depicted Christ's Passover as they entered the St. Gregory the Great Cathedral for the Holy Mass. In other news, the Manila Regional Trial Court has denied an appeal by news site Rappler, its chief Maria Ressa, and former researcher Reynaldo Santos Jr. to dismiss the cyber libel case filed against them by businessman Wilfredo Keng. The three are facing cyber libel charges due to a May 2012 article alleging Keng allowed former Chief Justice Renato Corona to use his luxury vehicle. The article also quoted an intelligence report alleging Keng's involvement in human trafficking and drug smuggling. Department of Justice indicted Rappler, Ressa, and Santos for publishing the article on February 2014, making it fall under the cyber libel law. The court also said there were sufficient allegations to determine corporate liability of Rappler for the cyber libel charge. The arraignment will push through on Tuesday, April 16. Fifth generation or 5G mobile network has been a buzzword in the recent years with the promise of faster internet connection. 5G will bring faster speed for uploading and downloading, as well as reduced delay in sending online messages or making online phone and video calls. Its application has shown an impact on safety and security of communities, delivering efficient public services, access to education, and development of industries. In the Philippines, PLDT has partnered with technology firm Cisco for the development of its IP transport infrastructure, which will be utilized for the deployment of a 5G technology network. The investment with Cisco is part of PLDT's Transport Network and Transformation Project, which will be implemented within the next 3 years. As more people flock to the provinces this Holy Week, local authorities have launched various gimmicks to draw in tourists. Tours to pilgrimage sites and landmarks are among the latest activities offered to visitors. Miguel Hill tells us more in our provincial roundup.
In Ilocos Norte, the provincial government of Ilocos Norte is again offering free trips to its popular tourist destinations during the Holy Week. The organized free tours aim to promote the province as an alternative destination for pilgrimage during Holy Week. From April 18 to 20, government-owned vehicles will transport passengers to these following destinations: Malacañang of the North, Paway Sand Dunes, the UNESCO World Heritage Site of St. Augustine Church, Ferdinand E. Marcos Presidential Center in Batac City, the Luna Shrine, Bangi Windmills, and various churches in the province. In Guimaras, the municipality of Ordan is ready for the influx of visitors who will witness the annual Pagtaltal and the pilgrimage of Balaan Bukid. Now on its 44th year, the Pagtaltal stage play depicts the life of Jesus Christ. It will start from the world's smallest plaza. Next will be in front of the municipal hall. The third area is the roll-on, roll-off wharf and will end in the Balaan Bukid Shrine. The plaza on Guimaras Island has once earned the title of the smallest plaza in the Guinness Book of World Records. Meanwhile, the Divine Mercy Shrine in Barangay Ulaliman, El Salvador City in Misamis Oriental is projected to have the most number of visitors. Last year, more than 200,000 devotees visited the the 50-foot statue of Jesus Christ, and the figure is expected to increase this year. The province also takes pride in its pilgrimage sites, such as Our Lady of Lourdes Church, known for its healing pool in Binoangan Town, the soon-to-be finished Christ the King Shrine in Ginoog City, and Medina Town, the site of the Hinuklog Street Play. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Miguel Hill.
Up next, Task Force Bangon Marawi eyes the transfer of displaced residents to temporary shelters by September. A biologist's cleanup drive in Davao City attracts more participants. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
The Environment, Tourism and Interior Departments recommended to close Boracay for 6 months.
To address issues such as illegal structures and faulty drainage systems that is affecting Boracay's prized beach.
The last time na nandito is 2017. It's actually crowded. Sobrang dami ng tao. Everywhere, makikita mo talaga bars and drinks and masamahalat talaga.
We had more cases of skin disease. We had more cases of diarrhea.
So nagkasama-sama lahat ng mga agencies, tiningnan ano ba ang plano natin sa Boracay, compliance on Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, at saka yung ating environmental compliance.
When they started demolishing, we saw that there was action, that they put their money where their mouth is.
Lahat ng nagamit na tubig ng customer, we collect it through our sewer lines and then it goes through a treatment process sa treatment plant.
It was nice that it happened. Finally, Boracay got the attention it is in deep need of.
I think a lot of work was done during the closure. The water is clear, the oceans are clean, there seems to be a lot of wildlife returning. We had for the first time in 10 years, we had turtles hatching on the beach a couple of days ago.
During the closure, you could see like the eagles came back and everything that we have had for a long time.
Pumasyal pa nga yung mga kwan dito Udanding, galing ho na Cebu.
In the end, it's a good thing, yes. It was hard for us, but it was also a wake-up call.
The beach was cleaned up and is officially set to reopen on October 26th.
Wala lang na kumakain sa beach, bawal ng manigarilyo.
Gumanda yung isla namin as in bumalik sa dati na ambience.
We teach kids about pollution, solid waste management, because they're the ones who will sustain all the things that we're doing now.
Holy Week has begun, and aside from observing the Lenten season, a lot of activities are in store for those about to have a vacation. How are people spending Holy Week this year? Let's find out what's on the people's minds in today's Boses ng Masa.
Gaya ng dati sa probinsya ang pagunita ng Semana Santa.
Sa Bicol na lang kanang mahal na araw. Maguni-guni ng mga kasalanan. So na lang sa Bicol, sa akyat ng bundok.
Sama-sama kaming pamilya. Gagawin namin sa probinsya. Banding, swimming.
Doon ako sa mga biyanan ko. Mag-i-stay lang kami doon. Muni lang ba?
Pag uwi ng probinsya, para makakasama ang mga pamilya ko. Di ba? Masaya pagkakasama ng mahal na araw ang mga mahal mo sa buhay.
Kasama ka mga ang family ko. Doon sa amin sa Bicol.
Tatanungin ko bakit?
Sa ngayong araw ng Semana Santa. Sama-sama kami ng aking mga apo at mga anak ko doon sa amin.
About 1,500 residents from evacuation camps in Marawi City are set to be transferred to temporary shelters by September this year. Task Force Bangon Marawi Chairman Eduardo Del Rosario says evacuees from the most affected areas who live in 10 cities will be given a 73,000 peso allowance package, while homestays will receive 20,000. The allowance package for IDPs was part of the government's transitory family support package and the livelihood settlement grant. Distribution of the payouts will continue until May 29. The Philippines underscored the need for ASEAN member states to share their efforts in deterring money laundering, which allegedly fund international terrorist activities. During the 23rd ASEAN Finance Ministers meeting in Chiang Rai, Thailand, Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez III says criminalizing terrorism financing has strengthened the Philippines' efforts to trace and freeze funds used to carry out terrorist attacks. He says close cooperation with relevant intelligence and law enforcement agencies is essential in order to trace, seize, and forfeit funds used for terrorism. Among the ASEAN members, the Philippines is considered as one of the countries with the lowest money laundering risk. In our foreign news, at least 3 people were killed after an aircraft of Summit Air collided with a helicopter at Lukla Airport in Nepal on Sunday morning. Locals said a Summit airplane with call sign 9N-AMH collided with a helicopter of Manam Air, which was parked within the airport premise. Lukla Airport is the nearest airport to the world's highest peak mount, Kolmolangma, while April to May is the peak climbing season in the Himalayan country. The airport is often referred to as the world's most dangerous because of the short runway and difficult approach. In sports, the rain or shine Lasso Painters rained 3-point shots to roast the Magnolia Pambansang Manok and take the lead in the PBA Philippine Cup semifinals. The Painters took the game early and maintained their aggression to get their second win in the best-of-7 series. Ed Dakiwag was the star of the game with 19 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists, while firing away 3 three-pointers of his own. James Yap catapulted to number 4 spot in the list of ABA players with the most career three-pointers made, way behind Jimmy Alapag and Alan Kaidik. Meanwhile, San Miguel Beer took its first win over the Phoenix Fuel Masters in their semifinals matchup last Saturday. Alex Cabagnot scored game highs of 26 points and 7 assists, while Arwin Santos scored 9 points to push back Phoenix's early lead. Marcel Laceter and Christian Standhardinger also held Phoenix at bay. American biologist Daryl Blashley took on the challenge of removing the trash from the gutters in his barangay in Davao City. His move not only got the attention of authorities, but also spurred others to help in cleaning. Janice Cave has the story.
Frustrated with the inaction of some barangay officials in his community, Davao City-based American biologist Daryl Blashley did the cleaning himself instead. Days later, more people followed suit. David Blashley has taken into himself the task of raking away the accumulated trash of plastics that piled up in the gutter on a street in Barangay Bukana. Blashley, owner of Dibon Museum, has already reached out to some officials in Barangay Bukana to address the problem of waste management. He blamed lazy residents who threw their garbage in gutters and the barangay officials who don't enforce laws for the state of the gutters. And when he was challenged on social media to do the cleaning himself, Blashley agreed. Blashley and 2 of his staff pulled out heaps of trash and debris from their mini cleanup drive. The members of the Davao City disaster team also helped, as well as various media outlets and the city mayor's office. On their second day, trucks and more men showed up to help decongest the gutters in the area. Staff from the City Canal Division helped with the cleanup with a truck in tow. They filled 1 dump truck and cleaned less than 20 meters of the drainage gutter. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources also commended Blashley via Twitter, saying that his initiative would inspire others to clean up their own areas. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Here's another look at today's biggest stories.
President Duterte vows to distribute more lands to farmer beneficiaries until his term ends. Filipinos overseas participate in the overseas absentee voting for the May elections. The MMDA suspends the number coding scheme as more motorists and commuters travel this Holy Week. And Task Force Bangon Marawi eyes a transfer of displaced residents to temporary shelters by September.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags on all our social media platforms and websites. And that's your daily dose of latest news and information that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo. Good day.